At Dave Cooper Live, we connect the industry leaders in the architectural, engineering, and construction space with the people, the products, and the processes to help them build it better. All right. What if the biggest obstacle to building more housing is not labor, materials, or even demand, but the time wasted trying to figure out if a lot is buildable in the first place? Today, we're joined by Avi Kaufman, co-founder and chief real estate officer of FutureLot, a company using AI to help builders quickly evaluate property feasibility, zoning rules, wetlands, setbacks, historic restrictions, and ADU potential. For builders, this is about speed. For homeowners, it's about clarity. And for the housing industry, it may be one more step toward removing friction from a process that has been too slow for too long. But before we get into any or all of this, we need to have a few words from our supporting members. CombiLift is the largest global manufacturer of multi-directional forklifts and straddle carriers, a leader in long load handling solutions, offering a free warehouse and site optimization design service. CombiLift helps companies of all sizes and from every industry maximize the capacity, safety, and efficiency of their warehouse and storage facilities. A big thank you to Paul Short and the team at CombiLift for helping us all to build it better. Visit them at combilift.com. Every build deserves comfort that lasts. Cobalt Creed helps builders and offsite manufacturers reach new levels of indoor air quality and efficiency. With their proprietary small duct, high velocity central heating and cooling system, quiet, compact, powerful, Cobalt Creed, building comfort into every building. Learn more at cobaltcreed.com. All right. Again, thank you to all of our supporting members and all of you in the ticker down below. We'd love to have your support with us. We can't do any or all of this without your support out there. This is live. This is unedited, and nobody tells us who to have on this show. The information is for you and for you only out there to make the best decisions for your building practices, your property, your development, your financial risk, all the above. That's why we're here. And also, we'd love to have you as a guest on the show. So, see that QR code right up there? That's right, right up there. Pull out your phone, take a picture. If you want to be a guest on the Dave Cooper Live show, or you know somebody that should be a guest on the Dave Cooper Live show, pull your camera, take a photo of that, and sign up. We'd love to have you as a guest. We're always looking for new and innovative ideas. So, with that said, thank you, everybody. We're going to get into it. We're going to bring Avi onto the show. Avi, how are you, my friend?
Hi, Dave. I'm great. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Well, it is great to have you. And I'm so looking forward to getting into your background and what you do at FutureLot. We got a couple things in common. Being an Army buddy you are.
That's right.
I love it. God bless America. Here we go. All right, Avi. before we get into everything else, we want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Do not leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, or we're going to have some of your old Army buddies on the show, and it's probably going to get a little ugly for you, but you only got about a minute to do it. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, I was born in Worcester, Mass, and grew up there. I enlisted in the Army, like you said, and after 9/11, went to officer candidate school, became an officer. Uh, when I got out, started working in real estate, and I've been in real estate for quite some time. I took a couple of detours, worked at GE Capital in marketing and sales for some time, and took a year off to learn how to code, and got back into real estate, and did a lot of different things. Got called back to the Army during the surge in Iraq, and it was there that I was in a movement control role, routing thousands of trucks every day, navigating things like blown bridges and IEDs so that the convoys would be safe, or as safe as possible, and developed a real appreciation for high quality, good information for decision making. I came back, brought that mindset to real estate, and now here we are, FutureLot. We're trying to address the gap in information.
You know, so logistics in the military. I mean, there is no better logistics company in the world than the United States military. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, we were there, other side of the world, and troops spread out across the entire country, across the entire theater, and we made sure no one ever ran out of anything, anytime.
And that's what it's all about, right? It's information, knowing the information, real-time information, whether you're moving stuff, whether you're planning. And part of this, getting into future lot here in just a second, you're navigating land obstacles, bridges, blown, not blown, IEDs, all the fun stuff that we find when we deploy. In technology and data really helps you do that, correct?
It does. I mean, that's our not so secret advantage, is the information really is the difference in being able to make a decision. And even if you don't have perfect information, which, as you know, downrange, you never have perfect information, but it's same thing building here. Like, you don't know exactly what's on the ground, but the more intelligence you can get up front, the more likely you are to be able to do okay.
Walk me through your vision behind Future Lot. Like, where did this idea come from? Were you sitting in the sandbox saying, God, when I get out of here, I'm doing something different? We all make those promises, right? My promise is I'll never live without air conditioning, and I don't want to be on a sandy beach very much.
No, this was not at all in my mind while I was there. Uh, but when I came back, I was working in real estate, and housing is super expensive now. Working with young families, working with older people, whatever situation you are in, the housing, just the lack of supply, really has an effect on people's lives. For young families, they're delaying starting their families, or moving careers or moving jobs because they feel stuck. They can't move into something. Older people feel stuck in their homes they can no longer maintain, but can't go someplace. And then, that was sort of the day to day of the clientele, working as a real estate broker in a high end market. And at the same time, I would start to volunteer. I was volunteering. I got pulled in to help resettle an Afghan refugee after the U.S. withdrew from Afghanistan. And it's hard enough finding housing for someone who's qualified and earns six figures, but finding housing for someone that's illiterate, even in their own language, is a monumental challenge. Someone else, a different group, was volunteering to help a different refugee, and they were able to settle that person in a carriage house that someone had behind their house. And that was kind of a light bulb moment of, oh, meanwhile we settled ours in like a not so great apartment, where the landlord was willing to do that. But the person who, if you can integrate them into your community and give them support, it's just a no-brainer. That's a better situation. And to make our community stronger, it makes sense that we need more capacity, more housing, more ability to absorb. And, for our kids, for our parents, or for people who are passing through or that we want to support.
Yeah, for sure. So as somebody that's been in the real estate market for a long time, how many deals have you seen fall through for new construction, new lots, because somebody bought it or builder wants to build on it, only to find out that they get tied up in regulations from here to the moon and back, and the project never happens, right? The quote is, most builders don't lose deals during construction, they lose them before they even start. Is that how this kind of started forming your idea on how can we get to this information faster?
Yeah, and part of it is just a lot of builders don't even know what a lot's potential is, or a lot of homeowners don't either. That every lot you can track how many permits get filed and how many permits actually get completed and built. What no one's tracking is how many people give up before even putting the permit in because it just seems so daunting. And I think that's happening a lot. There's a local town around here that will tell you what their permit timeline is, and they'll say, "Oh, it's 30 days," but it's really more like 6 months because they're going to say, "Okay, we need a survey of every single tree on the property and their drip lines, and then we need to know the topography, and then we need to talk to all the neighbors." And meanwhile, you've spent $10,000, hired a lawyer, an architect, or surveyor, all just to have a conversation with the building department of what might be possible on that lot. So I think that there's this invisible portion of this timeline where things just never even get to that start line because just the requirements are so daunting.
Where do you see the most builders are losing time today? Is it in the upfront, understanding of what the lot is? Is it in zoning? Is it all the back and forth? Setbacks, wetlands, restrictions, right? The research, or is it all the above?
It's really all of the above, and it can vary from town to town, but it's additive. And typically a homeowner will call the builder and say, "Hey, I'm wondering if I can build such and such on my lot." Or the builder on their own is exploring this opportunity. And so think about what you have to do. Unless you're intimately familiar with that specific lot and that specific zoning district, what you're going to do is find the zoning bylaw, if you can even find it. Read through a 50 to 3,000 page document, try and find the relevant sections, realize that it contradicts itself, try and call the building official, wait for a call back. Maybe they call and when you're available, maybe they don't call you back at all. Then you're going to have to look up on the GIS systems of multiple different systems, what are the wetlands? Because the guy said, "Oh, maybe that's conservation, I'm not sure, or maybe that's historic." And most likely they're going to say, "Oh, we won't even tell you an answer until you put in an application." And okay, so why don't you call a surveyor? So really, it's all of that adding up together. And meanwhile, the homeowner is going like, "Why is the builder not calling me back?" Now you've lost that project, and they're going with someone else who's just going to say like, "Oh yeah, of course I can do that," and deal with the consequences down the line.
Right.
But think
So
about the
then,
trust that you build when you say to the homeowner, like,
yeah.
"Hey, by the way, you're in a wetland buffer zone. I see you're going to need some site work. I think we can do it. We'll have to verify this, but it looks like you can build, a home addition of up to 1,500 square feet."
To find out you can't.
Or to be able to have that up front and say, like, "I checked these
Yeah.
10 criteria. It's looking promising. These are the red flags. This is what we'll investigate more if you go with me." But from that very first phone call, imagine, like, why can't you? There's none of this information is secret, or it shouldn't be, right? Like, it's all the data sources are available if you know where to look and how to interpret them. So why
Mhm.
does it take multiple weeks to even have a concept of what a lot might support?
And that's where FutureLot comes in.
Yes, and that's where we come in. So exactly. So we cut that from, multiple hours or days or weeks down to seconds.
So how do you do this, right? Because the typical process is you get your plans drawn up by a surveyor and engineer, right? You have your building drawn up, by an architect or an engineer. Then you take all this stack of paperwork into the building department and you pay your 25 bucks, 100 bucks wherever you live, 200 bucks, 1,000 bucks. And then you sit and wait. And then it
Right.
comes back with all of these red lines and notes, or you can do this, can't do that. How are you guys streamlining that?
Right. So we're adding a step before that to make that step go faster or to help you decide if you even want to do that step. And
Yeah.
you just to be clear, you still have to do that step. Like you
Mhm.
still have to go through the local authority. But what we're doing is you're entering an address and we're going to show you up front. We're analyzing the bylaw and we're saying these are what it says you're allowed to do by right. And these are the concerns. These are the areas you might want to confirm. And we're giving you the tools to draw that initial site plan even before you have a surveyor or an engineer, so that then you can go back and forth with the homeowner and get an early read from the building department and say, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing. And this is, if there's a question, these are the provisions of your zoning bylaw that says I should be able to do this." and get that immediate, like that early feedback, instead of going through the entire process only to get a redlined copy back.
Yeah, for sure. So you're going to walk us through a demo of this. We have a feasibility study of this. There's a survey that gives you an idea of what you receive from all of this. How would you like to go about taking us on the journey? Pretend I'm a builder or maybe even a homeowner. Walk me through how this is going to help me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what I say is there's a few pieces of what we've built. There's the pro tools, and as a builder, you get all of it. But the pro tools are where you as a builder are going to enter an address and do the initial investigation. So in a moment, I'll share my screen and let's go through a live example. And then through that, you can create certain outputs that move you forward, including a feasibility study and a site plan. So you can have those intelligent conversations. At the same time, we also give you a light version that you put on your website as the builder, so that homeowners can run like an initial inquiry and qualify themselves, get excited, and it makes them more likely to A, be qualified, but B, to contact you.
Perfect. You want me to pull up this live demo?
Yeah, let's do it. So what we have here is our pro tool, where the builder will come in here and you can enter any address anywhere in the United States. And so I'm just going to enter an address. And when you see it initially comes up, and wait, I'm going to turn on here. You have different layers. So you can have contour lines. So from a satellite view, it wouldn't necessarily be obvious that there's a slope here. But so we give you these are 1 foot contour lines. You also have different layers. So here you can see there's a historic layer over here, and that doesn't necessarily prevent you from building, but it's certainly something that you want to know about, because it might change how you build or the materials or other requirements based on the location. So that's good to know up front. When we have utilities, we show things like fire hydrants or sewer or water lines, whatever we're able to get from the municipality. And then, there's lots of other lines in here. You can edit things, just what you would expect. Like if you look at the satellite view and you say, oh, I want to move this house over a little bit, you can say it's actually lined up here, because GIS isn't always 100% correct. And you can make those edits, and you can annotate it as well. So for example, here I'm going to go back to the map view, and I'm going to turn off contour lines just so it's a little easier to see on the shared screen. You can see I annotated ahead of time. I said, oh, maybe we want like a pathway here, and I'm thinking of adding a swimming pool here or something. So you can annotate whatever you want, add your notes, and then you can always come in and delete those or change it however you want to do that. So all of these are going to go on, whatever you put here can then translate to the site plan that you're going to do. But that's just for contextual awareness of what's around you. The magic is when you really get into the report. So we have different modules here that the builders can choose whichever ones they want. So here I've loaded up a backyard cottage, which is like a detached ADU, an in-home apartment, a single family, a home addition. We have others that we're adding, and they'll continue to expand so builders can have their type of building project. So let's see how a backyard ADU might fit in this particular property. So first we're going to go through, and we're going to see on the left, these are all different considerations we checked. So in this location, for example, is it the right property type? Does the zone allow a detached ADU? What are some special considerations we checked? And these vary based on the region. So in California, earthquake, fire hazard, things like that will come up. Versus Florida, you're going to have the coastal control line, the construction line. You're going to have sinkholes. In Washington State, you might have volcanoes. So, that varies based on where you are. And we always give you the source so you can double check and feel confident. Then we get into real granular detail here in terms of the size that's allowed. So here we're taking you through the requirements, that there's a maximum size of 900 square feet. And we're also showing you other rules that we analyzed, but we don't think that they apply on this particular lot. But that way, when you're having a conversation, if the homeowner says, well, what about the gross floor area? Or what about the floor area ratio? Then you can say, oh, well, we looked at that and we decided it didn't apply for such and such reason. And then, of course, the setbacks. And you can edit any of these. And something that we do, if someone edits one of these, we get an alert in our headquarters and we say, oh, we should double check that so that like maybe we got it wrong, right? Like that way, the more we use it, the better it gets. And then we also link to the zoning bylaw and specific things about the about the other things that we pulled out of the zoning bylaw that might affect what you build, but not if you're allowed to build. So, for example, in this case, we want to tell you about the parking requirements, the rental restrictions, things that are relevant for the use case that we chose for this example, which was an ADU, as well as a state summary of the laws that are relevant from the state override, if there is a state law, which in this case, in this example, there is.
How
Now,
accurate is this information? I mean, you're scraping the data from the city, states, and towns to pull all this together, and is that where the AI comes in and kind of like puts it in this format that we're seeing here on FutureLot?
yeah, well, Dave, we're pulling data from so many different places because we want to give you a unified picture and as accurate as we can for a pre-feasibility step.
Hmm.
So the zoning analysis, this is where we really shine. We're not pulling it from an API. We're doing this analysis ourselves. We're pulling the municipal zoning bylaw from every municipality, and these range in size from something someone wrote on the back of a napkin to 3,000 pages. And
Right.
we're analyzing this and pulling out what we think is relevant for this particular use case. Then we're combining this with other data sources. For example, we have the topography, we have the environmental layers. These come from municipal, county, state, and even federal levels, and we're combining them so that you can have the best possible overall picture of this initial evaluation of the property. Now, is it 100% correct? I mean, even if you're using, even the government sources aren't 100% correct. This is intended so that you can have that intelligent conversation with the homeowner, with the building department, know where the red flags might be, and be able to get a good first look at this property so you know if it's worth pursuing, and if you pursue it, where the red flags might be, and
Hmm.
also where we've had cases of some of our customers will talk to the building department, and the building department will say, oh, you can't do that there, and then they pull out our report and the building department checks and they say, oh, you're right. These codes are complex, so it's helpful to have the citation and be able to look at that. And so then the next step here, once you do that, now we want to plan the lot. So now you can choose from, the builder can have their library of floor plans preloaded, as many as you want, or you can use our defaults. And you put them in here, and you can, this is great for showing the homeowner, like, I can put it here, but I'll have to cut down that tree and deal with
Right.
the site grading or whatever. And of course, we also show, the cut and fill lines, which I think are kind of cool. Like, let's put on a steep slope here, and you can see that, you can see what your estimates are. We automatically estimate for you the cut and the fill that you might need to do in such a case. So all of this is to give you get you prepped to do that intelligent conversation and feel confident. Yeah, imagine you can do this. Like, the homeowner calls you up cold, and you're able to talk about this with them and say, "Oh, I see that you have this slope in the backyard, and that you have that big tree there, or whatever it is that you need to do." And then you can annotate the lot further. You can even add in, we talked about modular before.
Mhm.
You can add in cranes to say, like, okay, I probably have to put the crane here. And then you can measure the distance using the measurement tools and see, like, oh, will that give me enough clearance? Will that let me get that in the right place? Or do I have to come up with an alternative plan? Now, all of this, you're still going to have to do your full analysis before you submit your building plans. But this way, at least, you can get a pretty good sense of what the situation is, much better in that first minute, so that you can decide how to proceed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you could put all this together and give it to the engineer that has to stamp everything and say, "Hey, this is what we're thinking," and I mean, it's brilliant, right? And it gives you the cut and fill of the property if you were to put in a structure there.
Yeah, you get the cut and fill right here, and you can change the assumptions too. Um,
Right.
like, I'm saying, like, I want this. I said I want a 1.5 foot difference from the natural ground line to the finished floor line, and so that's what this cut and fill is on. But you can adjust that to what you want it to be. So let's say I said I want this to be, instead of 588, I want to go up another 2 feet. So that will update all of the cut and fills.
Mhm.
So that you can get a pretty good estimate. And this on this example, it's 1 foot contour lines, and most of the country we have between 1 and 3 foot contour lines, so it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, love it. And I mean, honestly, I mean, sitting down with a homeowner and just running through this with them like this builds confidence and helps them understand, that, hey, I'm not crazy. These are the things that are happening. What you think can happen. Construction is not easy. People think it's easy, right? But it's not. It's complicated. It's hard. There's especially when it's when you're dealing with a customer. There's emotions involved, and they don't understand why not or why things cost so much X Y Z. And the fact that this not only gives you the lot, the contours, but it also gives you some of the legal mumbo jumbo in there for them to understand as well. On hey, can I build it here? How far from my setbacks? Is it a corner lot? Right? Cut and fill. Hey, listen, this is saying I'm going to have to bring in, 20, 22-ton truckloads of fill. It
Right,
kind of
right.
sells for you.
Exactly, and I think that it's not even you don't even think of it as selling. It's really education. That a lot of
Mhm.
times, I think what we see is when a homeowner is questioning the price or questioning the method, it's because no one explained to them all the steps or what's involved. But if you have it on the paper with them, and if you want to bring up the feasibility study next, um,
Sure.
this is a this is something that you can, from a single button in that report, you can bring this up, and it creates a document that has your branding as the builder, your colors, and it has what you chose on that report. And you can come through, and you can. I chose this for this is a different property. This is one in California. But you can take them through, and this is something that you can give to them either ahead of time or leave behind, or go over this in the meeting with them and say like, "Hey, look, this is what I reviewed. This is our very first call. Like, we're gonna do a full feasibility, but this is so that we can decide. I'm gonna charge you $1,000 to do a full feasibility study. This is our free consultation, and let's go through what the red flags, what might be the sticking points, and what is likely possible before it's a step. Like what we find is the builders who are successful with our software, they spend hours a day in the software, just especially the larger operations, because it's something that you can have that initial screening call with the homeowner
Mhm.
and get them on board with what's likely to come up, and then from there you step it up to okay, paid feasibility study, which for a lot of builders, that's even a loss leader, but it gets skin in the game. And then from there, you go to the full design process. And then from there, you go to the build. And, sort of that step process builds confidence, builds trust, and avoids problems and controversy later. The other thing you can pull up, if you want to bring up the site plan, the survey, this is another product you can make from one click inside of our um, inside of the report. From here, you can annotate it as much as you want, and you can decide all the things you expect: paper size, scale, show this layer, don't show this layer. But this is not a replacement for the full survey that you will do. But this is something that you, after the conversation with the homeowner, you can say, "We talked about putting it here, and here's the site. Here's the setbacks, and here's where we want to put parking." And annotate whatever you want, and then you can share it with the homeowner. You could also share it with the building department, with the zoning officials, and say, "This is what we're thinking before I commit to a survey and all of that. What do you think?"
Yeah, I love it. What about so you mentioned some utilities like you showed the fire hydrant. Does this get into sewer and water lines, gas lines? Can you pull that much data so people know where those things are on the property?
Yeah, I mean, the data availability is a patchwork, and I think the direction that we're moving in as a country is making more of these things available. We do have sewer lines and water lines in some locations, and we're adding more. It's dependent
Mhm.
on where the underlying data is available. Um, so definitely.
Got it. Now, as a homeowner, this is great, right? Because as a builder, I can show the homeowner this and do this, but the homeowner can also do this. So you also have a product that embeds on a builder's website, and they can play around with this without even dealing with you up front.
That's right. So that would be a much lighter version. If you want to go back to the live demo, we can look at what that looks like. Now, the purpose of this is uh, so this is a demo site, worcesteradu.com. It's not a
Mhm.
real builder; it's us, so that I could show you and not mess up someone's data. Uh, but what you have here is the homeowner comes here and they say, "What's allowed on your lot?" Or you could have it say, "See one of our models on your property." Whatever it is. And they come in here, and we find that on a typical builder website, the homeowner bounces after like 20 seconds. Whereas on here, they spend sometimes 8 minutes or more on here playing around, and we don't give all the details. Like we'll show, like I pulled up the same property we were looking at before. So you see it? You can still see the wetlands, the wetland buffer, and the historic. So you know that. But we don't show the full details of the zoning analysis or the
Mhm.
detailed topography or all the layers. Because really, for the homeowner, the point is we want them to still contact the builder. That's the whole point of this, right? For the builder is to make their life better and easier and build more. So anyway, the homeowner comes in here and they can say, I'm thinking of building a backyard cottage, and they see the builder's home plans here and they can play with it. And, they're going to show it to their spouse or their partner or whoever. And they'll go to the satellite view and they'll see what it looks like. Say, what if we put it here? Or what if we put it there? And they get excited, and then they're going to fill out a form. And this is all customizable, but they can fill out the form.
Mhm.
And this becomes a lead, and it can also goes directly to the builder's CRM. And so we see like a 2 to 5 times an increase in conversion rate for the builders from before till after they add this to their websites, because it's just so much more interactive, and especially when they have their floor plans on here. And then what you do is you follow up with it. And then, back in the Studio Pro, we have this. I went from the home tab to the insights tab. The builder can then see all their leads in here. They also can connect it to their CRM or deal with it in here, however they want. And they can see who searched on their website, who searched but didn't fill out the form, who searched but did fill out the form. And then for the ones who didn't fill out the form, they can automatically have us send a letter to that homeowner about a week later. Because what we find is a lot of the people interested in residential projects for themselves, it's a long sales cycle because they want to talk to their whole family. So, they might hold on to the letter for a year or more. Funny story. So we did a test of this a couple years ago, and like clockwork, after Thanksgiving, after Christmas, after New Year's, we inevitably, even 2 years later, last week, I got a call while I was at the World of Modular conference from someone who saved the letter because I was waiting to talk to my mother and the rest of the family, but we saved the letter. It's so much better than an email or something that, gets lost. So we still get a trickle of phone calls from that test. And so we do that on behalf of the builders. They have full control, but it helps them to actually convert.
I mean, as a builder and developer, right? People only want you when they need you. We're a destination. And then when they're done with you, they're not coming back to your site. They're going on with their lives. So how you capture that person and how you're better than the next person in your competition out there makes a big difference, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's exactly what we're talking about. And you're right. Being a developer and builder for as many years as we were, years later, people come back finally when they're ready to do it, or they're financially able to do it, or, whatever life changes threw at them, they can move forward and they keep everything. And they hope the price is still the same 2 years later too.
Of course.
Right. So love it. All right. So this is for builders and developers, so can a developer use this? Can they put in their own plot plans and site maps and all that if they have like a 200 lot subdivision and load this up for customers to interact with it? If they're just selling lots?
I think that's coming. That's on our product roadmap. That's coming later this year. Right now, we're really working with finished lots.
Okay.
Where you have the lot already defined. I mean, if you wanted it just for the site plan feature, you could certainly use it for that. But I think that they'll be very excited, and they should subscribe to our newsletter and sign up, reach out, because I think they'll be very excited with what we have in the works for them.
Yeah, I love it. So if I'm a single lot builder and a homeowner calls, and they can this do new homes as well? Or like you said, it's for existing. So it can. So I have an empty lot, in a neighborhood next to my neighborhood. I can pull all the same data and pull up their plans and place it on that lot.
Absolutely. I mean, you can even do it to a lot that has something on it and say, what would it look like if we demolish the house that's currently here? And what could I fit on here? That's definitely part of it. And, the other piece that could be interesting for people who are doing that is we have this new thing that's is released called Get Leads, where you can, a part of the same platform, you can type in the geography you're looking for, the city or the zip code, and say, show me lots that meet these criteria, this lot size or this whatever. And it filters it down for you to identify what those targets are. And then you can even automate a mailing to those owners to say like, hey, I see that this lot is interesting to me, and if you're considering building something there, I would love to build it.
So the letter that goes out, will it send a letter with a picture of what they originally planned, right? Like, it saves that information?
No, so the current version, you can customize whatever you want in the letter.
Yeah.
But the current version, we don't want to creep anyone out. So it's more of like, um, hey, this is what we do, and hold on to this letter for when you're ready for what we offer.
Yeah, for sure. So I did have a question here that I wanted to ask from Justin. It says, is there a layer to show where what utilities are in proximity in the general area they may have as their path? Can you show anything that has utilities?
Yeah. So it depends on the area. So when we have them here in the layers view. So let me go back to a past one. I don't know for sure if the one I'm about to pull up has it or not, because I've been looking at a million properties today. But when we have it, let's come out to, so anyway, you can see in here, and I think I pulled up one in California. Here we have more layers like the wild and urban interface, tsunami zones, coastal, fire, earthquake, wetlands. But let's come down to, let's look in San Jose, and see what we have here. So you can also, like, when you don't know the address, what's fun is to sort of click around and find something.
Right.
Say, I wonder about this house. And you can spend, from experience, you can spend a lot of time just like exploring houses and seeing what's allowed in different areas. It's a lot of fun.
Right. I mean, listen, if you're a spec builder and you're looking for a particular lot to fit your spec plan, so you're not redesigning a new house every time you want to rebuild, this would be a fun way just to search around and see what's within your requirements that you can do.
Exactly. And now this one, we do see the sewer line here. And so depending on the municipality, here we have the sewer main line, it looks like. In some locations, they'll even have the lines directly to the houses. For water, it could have distribution lines. So it just depends on what the municipality has available and what they've mapped to their GIS system.
So how long now has FutureLot been on the market and being used by builders and developers?
So we've been around for about 2 years. We released, beginning of 2025, we released the initial version of the Pro Tools. And it was this year, 2026, where we've achieved 50 state coverage. And
Right.
we've added more than just, so when we started, it was just ADUs, and it was in 2 cities in Massachusetts. So now we do external, detached ADUs, internal ADUs, single family homes, home additions, swimming pools, other things coming soon. And we cover all 50 states. After Massachusetts, we cover New England, then California. But yeah, we're all over now.
And where is this going to grow to? So right now it's, single family, single lot, custom lot builders, so forth. Do you see this getting more into a commercial application in the future?
It's a big question. It's hard to say exactly where we'll go next. We are very responsive to what our customers, what the builders need. And we have been hearing from a lot, like at the World of Modular conference, we heard from quite a few builders who do multifamily or do commercial. And so we're constantly adding new capabilities based on what our customers need. Like, so for example, those site plans and the cut and fill that I showed earlier, those were from customer requests. And so we're super responsive to that. We do want to expand into more building types beyond single families and ADUs and home additions. So we're adding swimming pools very, very shortly, and then multifamily and lot splits and things like that. We had someone at the World of Modular who asked about retail and restaurants. I would love for us to be the destination of saying, for anything that you could build anywhere in the world, help me get from idea to that next step. We want to really, it's about enabling builders to build more, and let's make a great world where housing is abundant and, we can all be prosperous together.
Well, I mean, that's what it's all about. So World of Modular, explain that to me. Like, what was the interest of going to World of Modular? Because you said, you really found a lot of synergy with the people that were there.
We had a great time, and that was our first real conference after we'd been to the IBS show in Orlando, but here at World of Modular, we were at our own booth, and I think something interesting about modular is it tends to be forward-thinking people who are looking, they're using technology and seeing how they can be more efficient and build more and get processes because it's a factory-driven thing. So that mindset of versus doing like one project at a time, everything custom, it lends itself to these more efficient processes and looking things up. So the world of modular, it seems like, and it was a very well run conference and show, and we just had a great time meeting all the modular builders.
They had to love the fact that in your program, you even can place crane sizes on the lot to see where the crane will set if you have to set an ADU or a modular house or a panelized house, whatever the case is.
Yeah, exactly. And we have all those standard size cranes so that you can get a good sense. And yeah, I mean, I think that we don't only do ADUs and we don't only do modular. Like
Right.
anyone can use us. But if you're, especially for the modular builders, this seems like a really good fit. If you're trying to, you need to keep your factory running, you need throughput. And that means you
Sure.
need efficient ways to enable your dealers, your franchises, the people who are talking to the homeowners to actually do all that.
Yeah, for sure. What is, one thing that, you think most builders overlook when dealing with a client? Is it that transparency? Is it that understanding? Or what are you seeing out there now that people are using this? What has changed for them?
I think the biggest thing is that clarity up front, of that transparency up front, of saying, this is what that education of the homeowner, of the customer, of saying, these are the things that we have to get through. Like, look, it's not all up to me. Like, there's physical constraints, there's building constraints, there's labor, there's material, but there's also this huge layer of what the municipality or the town or whatever jurisdiction will allow on here. And I'm going to be your guide and help you navigate it. And this is what we're looking at. And sort of like by showing that, it creates more of a we're in it together. Let's solve this puzzle, rather than like the homeowner being like, you said that you would do this in 2 months and you haven't even started and it's been 3 months. And, like the more you can have that conversation up front about what to expect and have real things behind it beyond just
Mhm.
like, oh boy, that building department is tough. The more you can do that and surface real things, the more trust and leeway you have to do well.
Do you see municipalities using this software for their own resources?
Absolutely. And I think that that's something that we're very excited to explore more. We have some big partnerships, one of which will be announced next week with the state. And then we also are doing an exciting partnership with the Greater Portland Council of Governments in Maine, where MaineADUguide.org. We're the ADU wizard behind that, where we've supplied that widget to their website and are partners with them there. And we'd love to work with more municipalities. And I think this is the future, is helping, I don't think any municipality goes out there trying to say, we want this to be as confusing as possible. And we love spending dozens and dozens of staff hours answering questions that we don't know. I think that we need to find ways to work together to make it easier for the municipalities to efficiently answer the questions and provide good customer service to their residents. So I think that's something that we're excited to explore as well.
Yeah. Is there anything that I missed in this conversation today, Avi?
Well, I would just say that if you're a builder, you should come check us out. You have nothing to lose. You should at the very least see what your options are and see if it fits with you. And, I'm happy to offer, especially to your listeners, a 30-day free trial, so that you can plug this into your existing process and just see how it works and see how it improves. And we're confident that as you start converting more leads from your website and screening them efficiently, that you're going to fall in love with FutureLot, and you'll see how responsive we are. And let's start building.
I love it. So it's a subscription-based platform?
It is, yes.
Got it. And based on volume and size, I would imagine is how it works.
Yeah, based on the number, there's two factors. The main is the number of lookups that you expect to do per month on the Pro tools. So if you're a smaller builder, you might only need like 20 lookups per month, and it goes up to as many as you need. We can make a custom package, but the typical builders start between $200 a month and $1,000 a month, and that includes all the things. That includes the mailers, the website tools for your website. It includes the pro tools and all of that. You can do as many site plans as you want on the properties that you look up. You can make those pre-feasibility reports. So we think that when you add together all those different tools that you get, we are, by multiple factors, the most efficient, affordable option for builders trying to do that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a lot of value here, and you're seeing the ROI for the builders pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, Avi, I appreciate you having a chance to come on the show and talk about all this. I got your website up here for anybody looking, and I'll put the banner across the bottom, right? www.futurelot.com. That's not too hard to figure out.
That's right. And if anyone has questions, they can always write to me. I'm easy to get. I'm Avi, AVI, at FutureLot.com.
I love it. Avi, thank you so much for joining us. Don't go anywhere. We'll come right back to you at the end of the show. And I look forward to seeing more from FutureLot in the future and everything you guys have going on. So hang tight right there. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dave.
All right, everybody, for the rest of you out there, listen, we always got to give big shout outs to all of our sponsors that are out there today and that are supporting us. Had to remove that other banner there, as you can see in the ticker down below. And as always, we'd love to have you come on the Dave Cooper Live Show right up there. Take out your phone, hit that QR code with your camera, and sign up, or sign somebody else up if you want to be funny about it. We want future forward thinking people on this show. We don't care how you've been doing it in the past. We want to know how we're going to do it better in the future. And that's what we're all about, bringing all of you all the information that you need out there to make the best decisions moving forward. All right, everybody, that's a wrap for today. It is Monday. Guess what? You still have 4.5 days to keep building it better. So stop watching the show now. Get back to work. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching. What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.